Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Check out our large assortment of logo merch and our lifestyle collection as well. Just head over to abvnetwork.com and click on shop. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we will talk to Wes Hardin about his bourbon journey. My name is McNew. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, along with our special guests, Jim Fosnot, Wes Hardin, and Evan Van Scoik.
Hey, gang, what's up?
Hey,
Hello.
Hey. Hey, so yes, we are going to be talking about Wes's bourbon journey today. How'd he get to where he's at today? He's at the top of the mountain when it comes to bourbon, but we'll figure out and find out how all this came about. We'll get to that after the break. For right now, I was over at my mom's house the other night, Valentine's Day night, with the family, and we're having dining in because my mom wasn't feeling great. A negative COVID test, so nothing to worry about there, but just didn't want to go out or anything. And of course, that's a busy night anyway, so don't want to fight the crowds. Mm-hmm. So we're just over there and we're watching TV, and I'll be damned, here comes one of those commercials with the bent carrots. And, it's all the carrots are bent. And if your wiener is bent like this, it might be a medical issue. And do we really need this? I mean, am I a prude? Am I just old or is this was incredibly awkward because my mom knows what it's about. She's like, oh God, not this. We just all just diving for the remote to change it. Shouldn't you be able to opt in on something like that? If you want to see bent wiener commercials, shouldn't you have some sort of opt in?
It's like when you're watching YouTube videos, you should have an option that says skip ad.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They do. It's called premium.
Copy that.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Steve. It's always funny that there's other commercials like that are just seem like such a specific audience that they can't be reaching that many people that have that issue for the dollars they're putting out there for that ad. It just seems like your doctor would know about this product. Like there you go. Mm-hmm. Like just talk to your doctor and he's going to probably know what to do. We don't need to have misshapen vegetables and representing ourselves.
It's like a 90-degree turn, and it's like so they're wanting to reach an audience that has a 90-degree bend and has never addressed it with their doctor, but sees a commercial and be like, you know what? I think I'm going to talk to my doctor about this and recommend this medication.
I had no idea they could help me.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem so specific.
I was going to go to a shaman, but I can go to my doctor. So
I can go to my doctor.
Go to my doctor.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how to get the 90 curve in mine and supposed out of it. Like how do I get the extra?
There's a special tool they make for that.
Yeah, what's nice is during the
you got to ratchet one notch every week, and the next week another, and then sooner or later you get the full 90.
Figure out the angle that you want. You got a flow tractor, you're measuring stuff.
Yeah, I thought the good thing is you could actually be in a different room while they're examining you because it would bend around the corner. So there's no embarrassment. You don't have to.
The good news is if you run dead into a wall, you won't hit your face first. That's the good news.
Yeah, my God.
Yeah, there's another commercial out there that has, I can't remember what it is. It's definitely a feminine product or drug, but it's like the hoo-ha one. Uh-huh. Like all the women are talking about, oh, I didn't know that my hoo-ha could be this fresh, or I could do something. And I'm like just either just say it or don't say it.
Yeah.
We don't need to use 5-year-old words when it comes to adult commercials.
Well, Steve would have been more uncomfortable if it wasn't
I was uncomfortable no matter what. If it involves men's stuff, women's stuff, adult terminology, kids terminology, and my mom, no, it's not a situation where I'm ever like, oh, well, mom, they're using the medical terms here. It's fine. No.
I wonder if younger kids just think it's a commercial for weird shaped vegetables.
I did. So Mandy Kaplan sent me this commercial like a month ago. And I was like, I will never look at carrots the same way again. Like now when I see full-size carrots, I'm like, it's a bent dick. Like it's just, I can't unthink it. It ruined carrots, honestly. That's the real problem.
When you started the story, I thought you were going to be talking about an ad for Imperfect Foods because like we subscribe to that. So it's like, it's vegetables that are slightly dented or messed up that they don't want to sell in the store. But no, it became a dick commercial.
Yeah, you get the cast-offs from the commercials, Evan. So they're actually, that might have been if it actually had screen time. If you can prove that thing had screen time, it's worth money.
Do you think
like a carrot, tastes like a carrot?
The actors in these commercials, do you think they put that on their resume? Do you like, oh yeah, I was in a dick commercial, hire me?
It's probably
it's such a desperate carrot than a baby carrot.
They probably say like medical advertisements.
Yeah,
that sounds better. They're gonna be like,
I think the actors and actresses that are in those are the ones that get. Those are the actors and actresses that get spoofed by executives. Who are like, look, we got this really big part. It's an important national commercial, and they get on there and they read the script. And by the time you like up and coming actors, you're not going to turn anything away. And you get there and you realize it's a freaking bent carrot weird commercial, and then you're stuck, right? The joke's on you. You still have to go through with it because you can't be blacklisted from being an actor or an actress. So I think it's one of those like watch this, let's see how many people we can get in to do this shit this week, and they pay like $200 to go on TV. And those commercials are not 30-second spots. Those are like a minute and a half, 2-minute spots where you're going to be on there multiple times, like frolicking around in the ocean within theory with a bent dick 90-degree situation going on, and like somebody's telling you, oh, it's okay, just go to your doctor, they can prescribe.
But, the bottom line is if we get a call tomorrow, ABV Network, and they're like, hey, we want you to do and release the Bourbon Daily shows via video, and we want to hire Wes, and we'll pay him $100,000 every quarter to do a bent wiener commercial. Wes will be on there parading around in a Speedo with the carrot shoved down his pants.
Yeah.
He would
You're damn right I will.
No problem.
He got around to be a bent whiskey thief.
Yeah, whatever. I'll do.
He's not working.
I'll do anything except for
he
eat
can be bought.
mayo.
There's no doubt. He can be bought.
Yeah. Eating mayo is the exception. Anything else, I'm good.
Anything else, you're good. All right. Yeah. Well, there you go. So I don't know how you get around this. I think you always have to, when you're watching TV with your mom, if you're like me, I guess for now on, you got to hold the remote. You don't just leave it on the table. You got to be ready to go. So, yeah. Well, guess what, gang? It is time to drink. What is everyone drinking? Let's start with Jim. It's his birthday, guys. It's Jim's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Yeah, not as you're listening, but as we're recording. No. Literally, this is how sad his life is. He's recording with us in his basement by himself.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Steve. I'm going with some Stumpy's, the wheat whiskey that we picked up last weekend. So I've already finished one bottle, so apparently I like it.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of squeak. Decent cork pop. Could be enough. We'll see. McNew, you're next.
Okay, because it's Wes's show, I brought out a dusty decanter, but we broke the cork, so the whiskey is actually in this Elijah Craig bottle.
Okay. No, not enough there. Jim retains his lead. Wes, you're next.
Well, in honor of a show that celebrates the greatness that is me, I'm going to go with a special bottle. It's an old airline Ancient Age.
Oh, nice.
Little mini Ancient Age. Obviously, no cork pop here. A little twisty.
Nice. Very cool. All right. How about you, Evan?
In honor of our conversation, gonna go ahead and break out a Woody the Woodpecker sticker for Woodinville. This is a cask strength Woodinville. Single barrel.
Okay, that we have a new leader. Evan has jumped out front. I've got Leopold Brothers here, just the regular bourbon. They're bourbon, not a 3-chamber rye or anything like that. Here we go. No, not enough. Evan is our champion. How about that? There you go, Evan. Nice. Congrats.
Cheers, Evan.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I would have let Jim win on his birthday, but okay. Cheers.
Sorry,
All
Jim.
right. Yeah. We'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking to Wes Hardin about his bourbon journey. We'll do that in just a few. Hello, this is Steve Akeley of the ABV Network. Let's talk about the people who make this show happen. First up is Leatherwood Distillery in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Company founder Andy Lang started distilling as a hobby while serving his country as an elite Green Beret. Andy distilled all over the world during his time in the military and brought this passion back to him in the U.S. when he returned home. A visit to Leatherwood combines Andy Lang's unique distilled spirits and a museum of artifacts from his time serving the U.S. Share a drink with a fallen soldier at their bar where you can grab an acrylic bio off the wall that celebrates the individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect his or her country. They will also ship their distilled spirits directly to you, so check them out at leatherwooddistillery.com. Hi, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network. We're sponsored by the Stave and Thief Society. This is where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge a bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification program available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at neelyfamilydistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky.
I'm McNew. Don't mix your grain and grapes. Not a good time. You're listening to the Bourbon Daily. Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we're talking about Wes Hardin's bourbon journey.
Yes, we are. So, Wes, you are on a bourbon journey. So, tell us a little bit about, how this thing got going and, why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, I thought it was cool one day looking on social media to collect all of the Blanton's toppers and thought, you know what, I'd really like to get this bourbon thing. I'm just kidding. So we've talked about this a couple of times,
right,
in the past. So if I go back, I live in Louisville, so I live right in the heart of bourbon country in Kentucky. Bardstown's half an hour away. Lexington is an hour away. Frankfort's 45 minutes away. And then obviously we have distilleries and so forth in Louisville. So I moved up here in 2000. Prior to that, I grew up in Southern Kentucky. So it's Kentucky's one of those, and maybe all states are like this, I don't know, but Kentucky is definitely one of those states where if you're in the rural areas, it's almost a different country to some degree. So contrary to popular opinion, a large majority of either we'll call them cities, they're towns, the towns and counties in rural Kentucky, to this day, a lot of those are still dry, either the county and or the city. And it's definitely outside of Covington, Bowling Green, Lexington, Louisville, Elizabethtown. The rest of the state is pretty conservative and kind of still rides that Bible Belt kind of mentality. So growing up, even though we're in the middle of bourbon country, where I grew up in Southern Kentucky, no one cared about whiskey. We were all beer drinkers growing up. So we drank beer. Obviously, when you're in school, you drink whatever, cheap wine, Mad Dog, whatever someone could get their hands on. But kind of outside of that, throughout college, mainly a beer drinker. I did start drinking, typical Jack or Makers and Coke, as we got into a little further along in college and thought we were starting to grow up in the world. We decided to go down that path. And So that was a way to go. So in 2000, I moved to Louisville for work. And of course, again, no one really cared about bourbon in 2000 unless you were an old school, someone like Steve who just drank bourbon his entire life.
Right.
He's a bourbon guy. It wasn't this culturally popular, super hot, people are standing in line. I mean, those are the days when we all joke about if we had a time machine, it could go back to the 90s and pre 2010, what kind of damage we could all do at all of the stores with raiding the rest of the Dusties that were left on the shelves and in the back rooms, and raiding the shelves of squat bottles of Van Winkle and BTAC, and everything you ever wanted was out there, and people were just passing on it. I mean, Van Winkle was your go-to drink for years, and you had no problem getting it whatsoever.
Right.
So it wasn't like a big thing. So after a few years of living in Louisville, getting adjusted to the area, went with a friend down to Jim Beam. They were like, let's go on the distillery tour. You ever been? I was like, no, I have no idea what it even is. And so went to a distillery tour, liked it. Initially wasn't a big fan of it neat. I'd always drink it mixed. But over the years, I started kind of becoming a casual drinker, and it was more bourbon mixing and less, Coke or whatever additive. And then it was probably around 2014 timeframe, I really started getting into, as I grew up, I started really getting interested in what Kentucky was really known for. So horse racing was a big part of it, obviously. And bourbon is the other part of it. And I started learning about the economical impact of the bourbon industry in Kentucky, and really started digging into, holy cow, there are a ton of distilleries out there. And it just so happens 2014, it was a few years before that, but that's when bourbon tourism really started kind of picking up, and more distilleries were opening up tours and visitor centers and things of that nature. That's about the time some of the bourbon craze started. That's when the Facebook group started. And so that's when I really started getting into it. And really the love for it started off more digging into just the history and how it's made. And then I started getting into, oh, wait, they make it outside of Kentucky? No shit. Well, there's all these other places. And you start just getting into the history, and it's America's native spirit, and it's protected under laws, and it's a deep, dark rabbit hole you can get down into that I've been into for the last, I guess it's 8 years now. So that's kind of a high level look at my journey. As far as drinking, it was like most people. There's not a whole lot of people, unless your family has a deep rooted history of just hardcore bourbon drinkers, and your dad or your granddad took you out when you're 14 or 15 in the woods and, son, here's what we do. We drink bourbon and we drink it neat. Here's your flask, and, kind of brought you up that way. Most people get into it in either high school or college or sometime after. And it starts off as a mixer. It's the classic Jack and Coke, Makers and Coke, Jim Beam and Coke, whatever. And then it just grew. Once I realized there are what the different, I call it levels of bourbon. So you have your bottom shelfers, your everyday drinkers, your higher end, your middle end. Once I started figuring all that out and started sampling all the different mash bills and determining what I liked or I didn't like, then I started getting into rye whiskey. But then finished whiskey started coming out to be pretty big, and I just jumped in both feet and entire body into the whole process, and still there today.
Yeah. McNew, what do you want to ask Wes about his bourbon journey?
So Wes is a guy with some pet peeves. What is the most annoying bourbon trend on Instagram, any social media? Is it the people chugging, or is it the people just posting sealed bottles? On your journey, what gets you the most annoyed?
So
I'm older than Wes, but he has the same level of crabby old man syndrome as I do. Yeah. We've both been diagnosed as the same level. So
yep. So I, contrary to a lot of people, I definitely am a person who falls under the category of, it doesn't bother me if someone has funds available and they want to buy every new bottle they see, and they want to buy 2 of them, and they open and drink them as under their own time and the reasoning and so forth, I don't have a problem with that. I also have no problem with people that open the bottles and as soon as they get home, they're so excited and just want to taste it and they pop it immediately because it's like a kid at Christmas. I'm very much a proponent of it's your money. You do what you want to with it. I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me to see a shelf of every bottle open. It doesn't bother for me to see a shelf of 500 bottles and none are open or anything in between. So that one's not typically one that gets me. The ones that really get me are there's a fine line between everyone has their own taste and preferences. So some people don't like the richness and the spiciness of high proof, high rye bourbons and rye whiskeys. I get it. Other people just think that 80 proof bourbons don't do it for them because it's not enough punch. There's some people that only drink wheated. There's some people that only drink big name brands, or some people that only drink craft and everything in between. My biggest pet peeve is probably the people that go on social media and everything's the greatest bourbon that there ever was. There's never been a bad, like there are things that are bad. And I've been guilty of saying that something's bad in a wrong way. I admit that I've gone overboard with a few before, but there is a way that you can honestly evaluate and talk about a whiskey without being overly negative. But you can still say, like, for me, my personal preference, I'm not a big fan of any of the distillate that comes out of West Virginia at Smooth Ambler. I just don't like it. It's just not for me. Some people love it, but I have the right, and I think we have the responsibility of saying when something is, you don't like it for this reason. It can't be you don't like it because you just don't like it, but you don't like the finish, you don't like the taste, you don't like the notes you get off of it. A lot of people don't like products that come out of Dickel because of this Flintstone vitamin note that they all talk about. There's you can name any brand. There's always someone that loves it, always someone that hates it. But the people that just love everything, I feel like the only reason they do that is there's this wave of people who feel like they are Instagram influencers and social media influencers. And some actually are because they actually get paid for it. And it's their job. But there are others who don't make a dime off of it, but it's like their whole goal in life is, if I kiss enough ass in the industry, somebody somewhere is going to give me a job and someone's going to make me a brand ambassador. And I'm sure it's happened, but that stuff kind of is over the top. The other one that really kills me are all these like crazy elaborate pictures where someone's got like a bottle and they're up on a hill in the woods hanging off the side of a cliff with one hand, and they've got a bottle and they're chugging it in the other, and it's like taking them 6 days to get the right picture. Like, give me a fucking break. Nobody's drinking whiskey
work for one photo, man.
Yeah, I got that. Like, if you're sitting on your porch and you're having a drink and you got a nice view, take a picture and get on with life.
Right.
We don't need to see you on the beach.
What would you assume is better? Somebody hanging off a cliff with one hand drinking, or McNew falling off the porch because she drank so much of it?
See, that's a better bourbon.
I'm going for the one that she drank so much she literally fell off the porch. It's natural. Like the bottle is kind of out of focus. Right. What's in focus is her feet kind of up in the air. You don't even see her whole body. She's kind of off camera. Really,
that's natural. That's
right.
That's my authenticity that people love. It's authentic.
Yeah, it's a difference in TV shows where it's the show comedies are written that make you actually laugh, or comedies are written that aren't funny but they put in the canned laughter because it's fake. Yeah. Like that's the difference. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest one for me, or just all of the social media wannabes that are trying to do that. Look at me, I'm more crazy than the next person, and look at my my stage pictures. It's the greatest thing ever, right? Like, no, it sucks. Don't do it.
Yeah. McNew, I can't believe how much you are still known for that drink until you fall off the porch. That comes up all the time. You don't participate in a lot of the whiskey tastings that we do, but you can't believe how many times it comes up. And if it was Rick Brenner or somebody that Bill Lewis, yeah, you could say, well, of course, I've known those guys for that. No, this is people that I don't necessarily know. They apparently listen to the shows, and they've gone back, and they're like, this is like a fall off the porch one like McNew does. And I'm like, gosh.
I love that that's became a thing, though, because like these are like your low proofs that like you might drink too much of and not realize you did. And I love this. I love that for that whiskey. I love it for me. But
sounds like a late entry into the sticker contest for me.
Yeah, true.
This is like 4 years ago, though. Like when I first started, this happened like 4 years ago, and it just
you're right. Yeah, because in your new house, you don't have a porch like you used to have. Where you'd sit and drink.
Yeah. I could fall off of, but that's not going to be great for me. But
we can start the McNew challenge. Everybody likes doing these video challenges. Let's start the
McNew challenge. Fall off a porch.
You and Danny to go to head in shots and just.
I endorse that.
That might actually be the day I end up in the hospital for alcohol poisoning. I don't know if I want to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Jim, what do you want to know about the bourbon journey of our Wes here?
So, Wes, you have a hell of a collection behind you there, and I'm sure there's quite a bit more after that. What are some special bottles you have? Something that you're, proud of or hard to, I know you find dusties and stuff. Like, do you have something in that collection that you're like, man, that was kind of the holy grail for me of finding it, whether you open it or not at this point?
So all of my bottles that are intended, for me me or friends or family or whatever at some point will at some point be open. But probably the one that I've been able to find, and it's not necessarily the oldest one I have, but I'm always a fan and enamored with the old Stitzel Weller. And I have a bottle, and I can't remember the exact year. I think it's a 8-year 71. So, distilled in the 60s, but it's a 8-year bottled bond Stitzel Weller Old Fitzgerald. So it's one of the old bottles with the green foil and the little emblem on the top or whatever. Yeah. I mean, my Dusties by far are the most, probably I'm more excited when I open a Dusty than I am most everything else. I'm always excited to open anything that I have. I still love store picks. It's still one of the, if I'm not searching for a Dusty, I'm probably searching for a store pick, to be honest with you. Especially, I love Knob Creek store picks. I just think for the money, those are some of the most undervalued store picks out there. But yeah, probably that old Fitzgerald Dusty is probably one of the big ones. The oldest bottle I have is a 1946 Kentucky Tavern bottled in bond from the old Glenmore Distillery. That one and the old Fitzgerald probably go head to head for my.
So I had the old Fitz. I had the 1964 Old Ironside.
Oh yeah, the decanter.
Steve, you got to taste that at Falls. The guy was doing construction by my store, and he came in and said, "Hey, they got 17 cases of alcohol. Can I bring in and you give me a price for it?" And I go, "I can't." He's like, "Well, you stop by." Well, it's literally 16 and a half cases of crap, but 3 bottles. There's a 1964 Old Fitz, a 1967 Old Forester, which I still have, and then there's a 1950 Old Governor, 1950 something Old Governor, which I'd never heard of. But we brought them all to Bourbon Night and opened all 3 of them. But that Old Fitz, I gave it to Heaven Hill. It's supposed to be in their new display case now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think just for whatever, like most people that drink and collect, each bottle has its own significance in a different sort of way, and it's either who you were there to buy it with, who you got it from. Did somebody do you a favor and muled you a bottle from somewhere? Were they in a state that you can't get something? You were at a raffle and won it. I know I've won. I've gotten lucky the last couple of years. I won a birthday bourbon last year in the Total Wine raffle. The year before that, I won 4 Roses Small Batch Select, and I think it was the Liquor Barn raffle. So I've had some decent luck over the years with raffles. I don't do the standing outside in line stuff anymore. It's just not. It was fun at one time, but it's become a nightmare here in Louisville anyway.
Is there a bottle you won't open?
Ever? No, probably not. Well, I mean, barring something like I die before I open it, but assuming that I live long enough to open and drink all, no, there's not a bottle that I won't eventually open at some point in time.
Like the only bottle I have, my very first pick was Whiffle Pig when I first did barrel picks. So I bought 2 bottles of it, and I have one here for my son that at my funeral. Here you go. Open this one up.
There you go.
Yeah, I do have a
funeral bottle.
Yeah, I do have a small collection of barrel picks that I've been on at different distilleries. And I'll be fairly hesitant to open the second bottle of those just because I helped pick it. Two of them were makers, private select programs, and
Such a fun pick.
in both scenarios, my blending formula was the one that everybody picked. So those are literally, I did those, but so I really want to keep those for a while before I open the backups. Probably the only one I won't open because I'll purposely leave it for my son to open whenever he wants to. Is I've got it's a semi-dusty. I've got an Old Forester from the year he was born, 98.
Yeah,
that's
very cool.
And I'll leave that for him. He's not a bourbon drinker right now. He's still a young kid and likes mixed drinks and beer and shots and all that crazy nonsense. But one of these days he'll grow up and start enjoying the whiskey, I believe.
Yeah. Evan, last but not least is you, man.
Yeah. So Wes,
Yes, sir.
if you could tell us a story about the either strangest or craziest thing you did to get a bottle, like did you travel really far? Did you go out of your way to do something?
Probably. Oh man, let me think. Yeah, probably it's not really weird, but it's probably the more risky thing to do. It was really stupid probably at the time, but luckily my company's changed owners and nobody was around. So I was traveling to Michigan quite a bit for work. And I every time I went up there, I was purposely kind of like staying as long as I could. So like at the end of the workday, I'm up there by myself. I never traveled with anyone, rarely did. I'm up there by myself. So what the hell are you going to do? You're going to sit in a hotel room, or you're going to go to a bar, or you're going to go bourbon hunting, right? So probably the most dangerous and weirdest thing I did, but it actually really paid off. I'd been going up there for probably the better part of a year in like 18. And I was up there for a couple of days, 2 weeks a month. So 4 days a month I was in Detroit area. And I had it like Google mapped out in quadrants and checked where I'd been and favorited places that had good store picks. And I found this really old store that had some old decanters sitting on top of their freezers. It was so Michigan specifically, but Detroit has a lot of those liquor stores that are also like a delicatessen and a food area, those kind of places. And those stores have been around for a really long time. So I've had really good luck with mainly Beam, but some Wild Turkey decanters. But then it started drying up after a year or so. Because I was already hitting it, but some of the Michigan bourbon people would hit those places too. So I started getting brave, and I would only do it when it was daylight. But I started going like to downtown and like mapping out like in the bad area of town, like 8 Mile Lane, 7 Mile, 6 Mile. Like those are some places that if you go after dark, you kind of get what you deserve type of thing. And I was making stops here or there. Some places I pulled into, and I just, you see people hanging out outside, and you're like, man, I'm just asking to get mugged or something. Like I'll go so far, but I'm not going to go that far. But yeah, I was going into the really shady parts of town during the day, and so kind of the risky part was risk of my health, but the other part was I got to the point where I was so addicted to doing that. I was booking like an extra day on my trip with like an excuse. I was going to go see a customer and things like that. And I was spending 4 or 5 hours during the day at times, like searching these crazy, ridiculous areas. And it paid off. Like I found a few bottles of like 90s Old Forester still sitting on the shelf. Probably the best find I had, and I've already drank it. It was crazy. Was that Wild Turkey Baccarat decanter that came in like the pirate's chest.
Yeah.
There was one of those old stores, and this was 5 years ago. And at the time I thought, oh my God, I'm not paying this for that. But I ended up buying it anyway. And at the time it was like the guy wanted $200 for it. It was crystal clear, full seal still on it, tax strip, the whole 9 yards. And I bought it and lugged that thing back because I drove up there for that trip and bought it. Now I see those things on the Facebook groups. They go for like $1,200, $1,400 just to give you an idea of bourbon inflation over the years. But yeah, probably going into inner city bad suburb Detroit trying to hit because these days there's no more bourbon hunting for like Dusties and old bottles unless you go to like a state that's way out in the boondocks somewhere and you run across an odd, liquor store that's been around for a while and some old guy's got stuff in the back he never could get rid of and just setting back there. Otherwise, you got to go in the rough parts of big inner cities and look behind there. They're all behind glass. They're all behind bars. It's all that kind of level liquor store, but you can still find some dusty bottles from the 80s, 90s, and late 90s. I found a lot of Jim Beam black 8-year age stated, which doesn't have really any value, but they're great drinkers for $10 a piece.
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. So that was probably the most risky thing was. Detroit itself they cleaned it up a lot, but like any big city, there's areas you just don't want to be caught in by yourself. And I made the dumb mistake probably of going there.
Yeah. Wes, have you been to the Rural Inn in Indianapolis?
I have not.
It's great. They have some of the best picks, but it is a very sketchy neighborhood. And when I go, I'm like, I'm not going to look cute. I'm going to look like a bum, or I'm taking my husband with me. And you don't go at night. I'm just like, it's such a great liquor store. But I'm like, ooh, this is sketchy.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it. I thought it was out in the country. I didn't know it was.
No, it is like east side-ish, downtown-ish, Indy. Terrible neighborhood. Great liquor store.
I lived in Greenwood for a year, so I think I know the area you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, Wes, because when I was with Total Wine, I'd get people, 3-4 years ago asking for, look for old bottles. Like, you're never going to find a Total Wine. They sell through stuff to it. So they're like, where do you hunt that stuff? And my suggestions are all two places, either inner city or college towns, because all your allocations are based off of the regular stuff they sell. So, 40 years ago, every college town sold a shit ton of Buffalo Trace, and every, inner city store would sell that stuff. So they'd get the allocated stuff, and you'd go find, I'd make trips, and I'd veer through college towns and hit 5 liquor stores on the way to see my son or something like that, just because I know I could find somewhere. The same thing in inner cities. It's the exact, their allocations are based on the sale of their regular stuff, and they'd sit on it, and because that customer isn't going to buy a $50, $80, $100 bottle.
Yeah, I was in East Lansing for work. It was just a couple of years ago. In Michigan, I was in East Lansing up by Michigan State, and was heading out and stopped at like 3 liquor stores. And the last one I stopped in, really small place, but on the bottom shelf, they had 6 bottles of the Ezra Brooks 12-year with the little squat bottle with the blue wax. And they had like 6 bottles of it for like $20 a pop. And I snagged all those real quick. And the lady was like, "You want all 6 of those?" And I was like, "Yeah, you got any more?" She's like, "No, everything we've got's out here." So yeah, you're definitely, college towns are another good call, because I was a college dummy at one time. I sure as hell didn't know what I was doing. So.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people can find us. Evan, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
Hey, you can find me on Facebook, Evan Van Spoik, or on Instagram, Wit Wisdom Whiskey.
All right, Wes.
You can find me on Instagram at Bourbon_West. You can find me on Twitter at Bourbon West, one word.
Jim.
Find me on Facebook at Jim Fosnot, or on Instagram at FozJim.
All right, McNew.
I am on Instagram at McNew ABV.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website. That thing's abvnetwork.com. That's the one you got to check out. Everything that we do is out there. All of our previous shows, our blogs, newsletters, so much more. abvnetwork.com. McNew, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review. That includes comments. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. And if you like what we're doing, we ask that you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the-ABV-network.
All right. Great job today, gang. For our audience, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Adios.
Peace. Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.